So thanks for giving me the floor right now. So for those who don't know OVHcloud is the largest European cloud providers, and we currently are managing around 400,000 physical servers in our 30 data centers worldwide. And so OVHcloud is the only European player within the top 10 worldwide. So so regarding the perception of the discussion today, I think we need to have in mind first what sovereignty is about, and I will give afterwards I would say our vision regarding what are the recipes to address those questions and how do we implement them, I would say, on the field within OVHcloud. So in my mind, sovereignty is about three things. It's about technology, so who is mastering the technology, it's about the legal framework, and it's about the economical power. So if you don't have the three of them, you have an issue regarding sovereignty and your ability to make your own decisions. And this is about sovereignty. So having the freedom to decide what fits to your needs wherever the moment in time. To address those questions, there are various things that needs, I would say, to be taken into account. From a European perspective, I think that there is first, so to address the question of the economical power, we need to have economical actors in Europe to be able to fulfill such a sovereignty. So, and to address this, it's a question of market size. This means that we need a digital single market in Europe, so applying the same rules and having and not having a fragmented market all across Europe. And this is also regarding procurement. So we often, when we listen to people complaining of saying that, oh, there is a lack of big European players in that market, it's so a pity, etc. Ask yourself, who are you ordering to when you are looking for services? And this is both a question for the private and the public sector. So you have the actor where, and you reinforce the actor where you are using your, I would say, supply chain for. There is also the question of ensuring that the legal framework is, I would say, adapted and fulfilled strictly. The legal framework on, for example, on data protection, we have in Europe now the General Data Protection Regulation, which is, in my view, is a great step forward and demonstrated that Europe is also able to have a soft power approach worldwide, since lots of countries outside Europe, in Latin America, in Asia Pacific, in Africa, in many countries, adapted to the regulation to follow, I would say, the principle of the General Data Protection Regulation. And today, the General Data Protection Regulation is, for example, not compatible with the US Cloud Act. So we need to be able to fulfill strictly things and say that this is not compatible. And I would say everyone needs to have this in mind, and we have to develop the framework and to apply it regarding this situation. Another example is regarding the question of reversibility. There is no freedom if you are not able to leave easily. So you need to be able to move from one cloud provider to another cloud provider easily. It's about data portability. So we have an interesting framework now in Europe named the Free Flow of Non-Personal Data Regulation on this Article 6 on data portability. But this needs to be enforced on the field, and this is not necessarily the case today, where there are lots of issues regarding vendor lock-in already on the market, and we need to have a, I would say, not only the regulation in place, but the regulation applied to be sure that the market is open and enables customers to be sovereign on their data. So this is also about competition rules. When I spoke about vendor lock-in today, if you speak about so our customers So in our customers, we have lots of software vendors, for example. We are providing infrastructure layers. But some of the software vendors have difficulties to have access to APIs and open APIs from some other players, and the biggest ones, so they cannot compete or can be pushed out of the market by a simple decision of, I would say, the biggest players on the market that are non-European today. So this is a big issue also regarding how competition law is defined and how competition actions are fulfilled today at a European level. And this needs questions to be both raised and answered. So these are very, very important topics on how, I would say, we should address the question of sovereignty on the topic. I want just to give an example here. We all know that the financial market is something very important for our economy to work. And if our systematic banks are all relying on providers that are non-European, and I'm not targeting one or the others, the issue is, if tomorrow we have a geopolitical major, I would say, misalignment between Europe and some other areas, maybe China or the US, this is fully possible. And if all those systematic banks are operating in the cloud on operators that are open to some political pressure from their own country, this may be an issue. So we need to have a balanced approach there. The question is not to working with non-European players. This is really good to work on innovative and non-European players, but we need to have a balanced approach where the reversibility between one provider to another could be done not in years, but in hours. So this is something very, very important. In order to be a little bit more so concrete there, it's how we handle things regarding what we do at OVHcloud. So OVHcloud, I would say, is really open by definition. So innovation for freedom is our baseline, and this is the DNA of the company. And everything what we do inside of OVHcloud has been openly since the beginning. And there is no customer lock-in within OVH, since we even provide and develop tools for our customers to leave us more easily. So this is a bit strange for some people, but we really don't want customers to think they are locked in OVH. We want them to be happy with us, since we have good products, good prices, but not since they cannot leave. We want to offer a broad variety of solutions as well. So we won't do the choice for our customers. We are providing, for example, in our cloud portfolio, you can work with the VMware technology stack or the OpenStack technology or whatever. So we think we need to be open and propose on the market to our customer what they want. So it's not, the openness is not only about open sourcing everything. So this is what we do when we do our own developments, but it's also regarding offering a broad variety of choices to our customers. This is also openness. And we try to stick to offer open APIs on everything we do. So this is not always easy in terms of speed of development, etc. But we try to do our best to have everything able really openly. And we also are fully transparent in our pricing. This is not always simple. So there are even some companies that made a business model to help customers to understand the prices of their suppliers. So we want to have things clear even before the contract, including the cost of the bandwidth. And for most of the bandwidth, this is already free, I would say, including the service, and it's not charged on the top of, I would say, of the services you usually use. This is not how other cloud players operate on the market. This is what we do, I would say, internally. We do lots of other things. Externally, we also help the rules, the ones I've mentioned before, to be properly applied. Speaking about data protection, for example, we have been working with lots of competitors to design the CISPE Data Protection Code of Conduct. So CISPE stands for Cloud Infrastructure Services Provider in Europe. We developed a code of conduct to apply to IaaS providers, the General Data Protection Regulation, and to go beyond that regulation that also says that IaaS providers cannot have access to customer data, that the customer can choose to store and process their data exclusively in Europe, knowing at the city level where things will be stored and processed. On the reversibility topic, we have been involved for 2 years developing a code of conduct for IaaS providers also to help, I would say, customers to move more easily from one IaaS provider to another. So this is ongoing work, but we really try hard to help the rules we need on the market to be applied really not only by us, but also by our competitors, and to work together with them. And I will finish with one other thing. We also help structuring the ecosystem, working on various layers. And for example, one of some is, I would say mostly speaking about these days, is one thing named Gaia-X for, say, a European cloud, I would say supported by both the German and the French governments, but as well as many, I would say, industry players. So hundreds of companies are already, I would say, in the working tracks there. And so we help to structure the discussion there, embedding all, I would say, the rules directly from the beginning. So my final word there would be just to say that Europe do not, I would say, need sovereignty. We need it. We've seen it with the COVID situation. When you do not, I would say, master your supply chain, then you have a problem. But this is not to be closed. I don't think we need to have everything done only in Europe for Europeans, etc. But everything should be based on European rules, on European values, and those who are ready to play with those rules should be really welcomed. But the other one should not be able to play with us.